Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to In Defense of the Hays Code, where today, just to get in, sorry. I am your host, Mac. This is my co-host, Zach Anderson. I'm very excited, ladies and gentlemen, and I'm sure my co-host is as well, because today we are covering Another Thin Man, which, as we joked last time, is both a descriptor of the film and the name of the film.
Yeah, right. The film is called Another Thin Man,
Mhm.
and it also is another Thin Man movie. Yeah.
I now I'm just imagining, because they had the Thin Man, and then they had After the Thin Man, and if they had named this one after the Thin Man.
Yeah. I mean, they could have because because it's like so in the first Thin Man, he was not the Thin Man.
No,
Like Powell is never the Thin Man,
no, but
but
yeah,
it gets to where it feels like he's a Thin Man.
it doesn't help that Powell is a very thin man.
I know, I know, and and yeah, I guess it's about the case,
Hmm.
and so then it goes into another. I don't know why they called it Another Thin Man, except they needed Thin Man in the title so everybody would know that it was the Charleses were back.
Yes.
Other than that, I don't know why they called it Another Thin Man because there really, I mean, there was plenty of thin men in it, but there wasn't like a thin man.
And this, in my opinion, and don't get me wrong, all the Thin Man films are good, but this to me is the tail end of the golden age of the Thin
Okay.
Man.
Yeah.
Because after this, I'm trying to figure out a family friendly way to put this. The guy who originated the films removed himself,
Yeah.
and just I I think the next one there's a time gap. Anyway, things just start happening, and the films to me they lose a little bit of that quirk. But instead of focusing on that, let's focus on this movie
Yeah.
before I get off
So,
on the tangent again.
well, I think Off on a Tangent could be the other name of our show.
Yeah.
That's our alternate show name. Um, but yeah. So, uh, like you said, the Charleses are back.
Mm-hmm.
They what is it like a week? I think it is after their last case. It's something
It
like
would have to
that.
be more than a week because there's a baby. Isn't it a
Oh
baby?
yeah, I want
It was
to.
like,
It was a year or
yeah,
so. It was a
yeah.
year or so. Yeah. So in the second Thin Man, you see that she's got like the little booties that are gonna be for their baby, and in this one there's a born child. So yes, longer than a week. um, but it's not long after his last case because he still has fame from
Mhm,
solving those cases. And so he hasn't really faded out of the public eye. Not that he's super recognizable,
mhm,
but it's like once they find out it's him, it's like, oh, we could use your help.
mhm.
And as always, he's not interested.
I think
He's one of the most reluctant heroes.
that's one thing I really love about Nick as a character is he's not somebody who's like, yeah, let me go, save the day. He's like, look, I want to drink. Let
Yeah,
me drink.
yeah, right. There was one scene, and so so the Charleses are there, and something's going on,
Mhm.
and he's got a drink in his hand, and she's like, "Do something," and he's like, "Oh yeah," and he downed it. It's like, "Oh yeah, I forgot. I'm gonna drink."
Yeah,
He's not a drunk in the movies,
no,
but he's always up for a drink,
yeah,
and so like yeah, with old movies like that, like A Town Drunk or something.
mhm,
Clearly, that's not him.
no.
He just likes his drink. And he likes to be left alone.
Mhm.
He just wants him, his wife, his kid.
But as we learned in this movie,
Yeah.
or we sort of got a hint of it in the second one, but you learn it in this one. You see it in full black and white. You push Nick into a corner and you threaten his family.
Woo. Yeah, yeah. Absolutely. Okay, so first of all, the Charleses are not just back on the screen, but they're back in full force of the way that they trust each other. They're never worried about each other cheating on each other.
No.
They make jokes about that because everybody else seems to be really worried about their relationship, and they both are like, "Oh, is something a problem?" No, of course not. It's just, yeah, their wit, their charm. It's funny conversations that they have with each other, and like I mean, gracious, I feel like the last two times we've talked about them, we wind up talking about just their chemistry. So let's try to find something else to talk about these movies. I
So
will
we can-
say that's the main reason to
Yeah.
watch these movies is because it's that good.
Mhm.
But there's other things in the movie too.
I know us, and we will inevitably loop back to talking about their chemistry. It's
Yeah.
inevitable.
It is inevitable. Yeah.
But no, and I think we can talk about that scene in question that I mentioned because it's early enough in the film. It's not really a spoiler.
Yeah, yeah.
Go
ahead.
But I just so for context, he's gone to meet with this guy due to plot-related reasons, and the man purports himself to be a psychic, and his whole thing is, "Oh, I dream about somebody. I dream about them the third time they die."
Yeah.
And
So he's a bad guy,
Mhm.
and like the threat of him, or the way he threatens people and he gets the word out, oh, he's dreamed about them. So he kind of creates himself as a bit of a supernatural, but most people get the point that he's just a gangster.
So it's a supernatural man with a glass jaw.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So go ahead.
Yeah.
With that.
So Nick's gone to confront him, and they've talked, and it's all been very round and round. And Nick starts to leave, and the man goes, "You better be careful. You better be careful, Mr. Charles. That pretty wife of yours and that kid. Who's to say I won't dream of him? Who's to say I won't dream of him 3 times?" And Nick just turns around and belts him.
Yeah.
I mean, just full tilt.
Yeah, just right hook out of nowhere, because after the gangster said the line, I was like, okay, how would Mr. Charles respond to that? Because this guy is put together. He in a way that Bogart is, like always put together, always cool. But this guy has a sense of humor that's different from Bogart. This guy, he's just like, why is everybody making such a big deal out of everything? Let's just solve the case. We'll move on. That's just kind of how he is. He's like, okay, calm down. I'll take care of it. But yeah, when he said the thing about the 3 dreams, bap, just immediately. And I was like, oh, okay, that's how he'd handle it. And then there was some line like it said something to the effect of so the gangster guy said to him, like, you haven't seen the last of me, but like we'll handle this later. And Mr. Charles, he's like, I'll handle you later if I need to. And like he was still not, that wasn't enough. That punch didn't satisfy him. He was like, yeah, just don't cross lines you don't want to cross.
And that's every time that I've told you there's a scene coming up in one of these films, I'm super excited for you to see.
Yeah.
It's that one. That is the one I have been teasing for the better part of a few months now.
Was it? Okay.
Yes.
All right. I was wondering. See, there was a couple scenes in this movie,
Mhm.
and Ellis had told me, he was like, it's one of my favorite scenes in all the Thin Man films. And so I was like, okay, trying to think about how Ellis thinks, but then also just watching the film.
Mhm.
Yeah, I didn't think it was that one.
Oh,
I didn't.
which one did you think it was, or is that too spoilery?
Well, I'll tell you, I'll put it this way. There was a lot of babies that got brought
Mhm.
into a room,
Oh yeah.
and one of my favorite actors of that time period came into the room. Do you know who I'm talking about?
I was going to bring him up. Yeah, I was wondering if you
Go
realized
ahead.
that
Go ahead.
you might have to correct me because my memory's a little shot as to the names. It was one of the Stooges.
It was one of the Stooges. It was Shemp.
Mhm.
Shemp comes in, and there's a reason for this, but everybody's bringing their babies in the room,
Mhm.
and then Shemp comes in the room, and I pause it because I'm like, Shemp. I'm a huge Three Stooges fan, and I was like, this is suddenly a Shemp film.
Mhm.
And earlier in the movie, they had been talking about how they had been using lingo that this
Mhm.
woman was just playing the stooge for him.
Mhm.
And the officer even was like getting her to explain, like, what do you mean by that? And basically, it was like eye candy. Like she would be
Mhm.
the distraction while the bad guy would do things, but
Yeah.
they weren't really involved with each other. But yeah, then I see a stooge show up, and I'm like, what? He didn't tell me about this. And
Mhm.
so yeah, I was very happy. I can't remember what they called him. It's something like Slappy.
Mhm.
I don't know, but of how good the movie was,
Mhm.
that was just like the cherry on top when one of the Stooges walks in the room. In this series, I was
Mhm.
like, well, yeah, of course.
Well, I read somewhere where somebody described the Thin Man back then as sort of how we see the James Bond films today.
Wow.
We're like every actor wanted to be in it because they were big time films.
Oh, okay, okay. That makes sense. Yeah.
Because of course, this was I think this was filmed before the movie we know him for. But the man that um Nick Jaws, he was in something too. Did you recognize him?
Nick Jaws.
The one that he punches.
I've seen him on episodes of the Twilight Zone,
Mhm.
but you're saying that he's been in a movie that we've gone
Yes,
over?
yes.
Ah,
I'll give you the hint I gave you last time we brought him up.
okay.
Out you pixies go, through the door or out the window.
I got nothing.
I think that was the result last time too. I
I
gotta
feel
find more.
I'm letting Ellis down so badly.
Funnily enough, he played Nick, the bartender, in It's a Wonderful Life.
Oh, yes, I do remember that.
Yeah.
Well, I guess I didn't remember it. I was reminded of it.
Mhm.
But yeah, okay. And so he was Nick the bartender.
Mhm.
What was he in the other one that we saw?
No, I mean that was it. He was Nick the bartender.
Oh,
Uh,
okay. I thought you were saying that there was another
I remember referencing that line, but I don't remember why I referenced that
okay.
line.
Okay, yeah.
I have distinct
We'll have
memories of
to
this entire conversation playing out before, but I
Okay.
don't remember the context.
Just the main point that I
Yeah.
didn't remember. Okay. Well, yeah, that's very cool. Yeah, so the the threats were very real in this movie. Like the danger was high, and um yeah, Mr. Charles he's always glad his wife is by his side.
Mhm.
Always. but he's also going to keep her
Yeah.
out of danger, like when there's actual danger. And she hates that. She loves it, but she hates
Mhm.
it because she wants to be involved, but it just comes to a point where he's like, I'm not putting her in that
Yeah.
situation. Just too well, what the right hook taught us. He just cares too much about his family
Mhm.
and all of his joking and all of his sarcasm. And there's one line that I liked, and she asks him, "How did you know where to find me?" And I said, "Well, who else would have all these men
Mhm.
surrounding her?"
Mhm.
And she smiled, and he said, "You know, what other lady has what you have?" And she smiled, and he said, "That much money." And then she looked back at him, but he didn't look. He didn't
Yeah.
look at all. He just delivered that line. And so yeah, with all of that, and it's so good.
Mhm.
I'm getting back into the chemistry part again. I know.
I told you we would.
Yeah. But with all that, he's also like deadly serious about protecting his family.
Mhm.
And at one point, yeah, you think that that someone has put his kid in trouble,
Mhm.
and whew, um, uh, Mrs. Charles is scared. He's angry, and I'll just say that Shemp helps out in that situation.
Mhm.
Of all people, Shemp, I feel like, is the secondary hero of the story, as it should be.
There's another, like you said earlier. I don't know if you remember the scene or not. There's another actress. She's not a returning friend to the channel, not yet. Um, but probably my favorite character actress of all time.
Okay.
So it's the scene later in the film when they're going into this like these apartments or whatever to go like look through this person's room, and it's the lady who's owns the place.
Yeah.
Um, voice like a she's got that very scratchy, distinctive sort of nasally scratchy voice.
Yeah.
That
She was always saying funny things in
yeah,
it too.
that's Marjorie Main. She's hilarious.
Okay. Well, I don't know that her by her name. I
Mm.
guess I'll see her down the
Oh
road.
yeah, you will, you will.
Okay. All right.
But
You're
I mean,
pretty
it's just
confident. Yeah.
that I guess it's something about sarcastic characters. But just that sarcastic, no nonsense, take no crap type personality is just
Yeah. Oh yeah. She was really funny
mhm,
in this film, and the Charleses were playing characters trying to get
mhm,
information, and all of that was screwball comedy ish
mhm.
type stuff going
Yeah.
on right there. Yeah, while they were being shown rooms in, like you said, the big apartment or whatever. Yeah,
Mhm.
she was the landlord there, and I was like, I kind of want to see more of her character. But yeah, she didn't have a huge role in it, but apparently, she's in a lot more stuff. Is that correct?
Yes,
Okay,
yes. I know she's definitely in one film that I gave you. Uh,
cool.
she
So,
has a much bigger role in it as well.
all right. Well, if I don't notice her in the
Mhm.
much bigger role, man, you're gonna have to reach through the screen and slap me
Mhm.
because I should be learning these people.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's one thing I've noticed about old cinema, and maybe it's because we don't. It's not like modern day where we have like actors and celebrities and all these people just kind of shoved at us 24/7.
Yeah.
But I know
I know what you're talking about.
when I first started watching black and white cinema, it would always take me a couple times to watch through a movie.
Mhm.
because I didn't know any of the people, and so it was hard for me to um focus or identify anybody because they were just random faces.
Oh, okay. Yeah, got you. Yeah, and I mean, even with it being in black and white, I think it can be difficult to differentiate because the redheaded girls are the
Hmm.
same. They look the same as the black hair girls. You
Hmm.
know, like they all of their hair looks the
Yeah.
same. Um, and that's true with the men too. It's just that like there's sometimes where they'll be talking about a girl. Yeah, the girl with red hair, and I was like, oh, I thought it was brown hair.
Hmm.
Well, all right.
Yeah, I
Uh,
think that actually gets applied to Nora once or twice, and I don't know if it's this film or in one of the others. Might be. I might be
in
getting that confused.
in what way? Do you know what color her hair was?
Red, I think.
Okay, yeah. I I didn't know.
Hmm.
Couldn't tell. Um, I think that in this film, so going back to the film, they focus in more on Mr. Charles than
Hmm.
they did the two of them together,
Hmm.
which I liked less.
Hmm.
It seemed to be more of his film,
Yeah.
and that she was there, but at the same time they were both very active.
Hmm.
It just, you know how some movies follow this
Yeah.
character and then they interact with all these other characters and they're doing a lot of stuff. That kind of, rather than the first two Thin Man movies where it was you were following the two of them around. Did you think that was true? Did you pick up on that?
It seems to be. It's been a minute since I've seen the film all the way through. But I've said from day one. I've always thought that After the Thin Man was the peak of the series.
Yeah, yeah, I can see that. Yeah. Once again, speaking of that movie, which had such a great plot twist at the end,
Hmm.
this one also, you really don't know who does it until he reveals who did it.
Hmm.
Um, because several times I was like, okay, I think they're trying to point me in that direction, but I think it's really this person.
Hmm.
And just like After the Thin Man, which was the second movie,
Hmm.
in this third movie, Another Thin Man, I did not know who did it until they said it. So, bravo again for good writing for a mystery. There's there's just not a lot of movies that do that with me.
And
And I like that I can be tricked.
sort of kind of going back to what you were saying about Nick being just this. I don't want to be here. I don't want to do this. I just want to drink. I'm
Yeah,
retired. Leave me alone.
right.
Um, I have to manage my wife's money. Leave me alone and let me
Yeah,
drink.
yeah.
Uh, I love the fact that, again, as much as I love Sherlock Holmes, Nick is not a Sherlock Holmes.
Right.
Nick is not somebody who's like, I figured this out from the minute the man, stepped through the door. I had everything pieced together. It'll be the denouement of the film. Things are ramping up. Sort of like in the first Thin Man, and Nora leans over and was like, "Hey, who did it?" He goes, "Well, we're about to find out."
Yep. Yep. That's his MO.
Hmm.
He he doesn't jump to conclusions. He's
Hmm.
like, that's important. I don't know why though. He keeps putting pieces together.
Hmm. And like I said, I just love that because it's so refreshing rather than having a film that like tries to be oh so clever by half and like, oh, you can solve the mystery, this is just like, no, the detective doesn't know, you don't know, nobody knows, here's a twist.
Yeah, yeah. Right. And yeah, like you said, a lot of times it's this guy is a super genius.
Hmm.
This whereas in this movie, Mr. Charles
Hmm.
is just a good detective. It's like he knows what he's doing. He knows what to look for. He's doing his job right. And because he's confident that he's gonna do his job, you know, again, whether he figures out who did it or not, that's kind of a side thing for him.
Mhm.
He's just trying not to get him or his family shot.
Yeah.
Kind of wants to be left alone. And would just prefer to not be involved. But at the same time, he is on the job.
Hmm.
While he's there, while he's around it, he's on the job. He's watching for things. He's going to tell the cops the things that he thinks that they need to know at the right time. So yeah, in many ways, it's just he's smart enough not to make accusations too early or to jump to conclusions. He's picking up the clues as they come, as new things reveal themselves. He'll plant things just to see which of the people in the room will react to it.
Hmm.
Not that he's expecting one of them to. Like, for instance, in this movie, at the end, he picks up something. Who dropped this? He did not know who dropped it.
Yeah.
But the person was like, "Oh, thank you. Yeah, that's mine." And that wound up being important.
Hmm. Yeah. I mean, the poor man, in the first movie, he just wants to go on vacation over Christmas. Ends up, oops, there's a dead body.
Yep.
Second movie, he has to deal with his wife's family that don't particularly care for him very much. And he's just trying to make his way through that. Oops, there's a dead body. This movie, trying to handle taxes and finances and getting all that squared away. And oops, there's a dead body.
Dead body again.
Yeah.
Yep. It's very good that that he's around when these bodies are dropping.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because they tend to drop around it. But it's a good thing because he's there to take care of it, whether he wants to or not.
So, unless you have anything else you want to mention about the film,
I mean, I think the big surprise and bonus was having one of the Three Stooges in it.
Mm-hmm.
That was super cool, and I was like, they just need to bring him in as a regular.
Yeah.
I think, yeah. Other than that, and once again being fooled, yeah, it's these movies are a great series. So people comparing it to James Bond because the James Bond movies have just been historically good films. Not every single one of them, but historically, like the franchise, everybody expects a lot out of the franchise. This is one of those that, like, you want to know more about these people, you just want to follow them. And so, yeah, check it out.
I think it says so much that, like, we haven't voiced this out loud, but I think anybody who watches it's very clear. We've reviewed, I'm not going to say a lot of movies, but we reviewed a fair few movies. But the Thin Man films are comfort food.
Yeah,
I mean, they really are.
Yes. So I just want to echo that because he says, like, all right, I've got this gangster movie, I've got this movie about dancing, movie about this, movie about that. I'm like, all right, yeah, I enjoy all movies. I watch all of those. And then he says, hey, next we're doing a Thin Man. I'm like, come on, let's go. All right, I'm in. I get very excited because I know that no matter what, I'm gonna enjoy it. And so, yeah, man, it's good stuff. Comfort food. That's a good way of putting it. I like it.
All right, but yes, what would you rate it?
Oh, the rating. I wonder. I should have looked back and see what I rated the other Thin Man movies.
I'm pretty sure you rated the first one at 10, but I could also be
bet I
making that
did.
up.
I bet I did. Because I was going back and forth right now from a 9 and a 10. I'm gonna say a 9
Mhm.
A 9 with a Three Stooges
Yeah.
shimp sticker on it of approval. So if nothing else, watch it for that. But
Mhm.
9 stars, yeah, it was that good.
I think I'd give it about a 9 too. You can sort of start to tell that maybe the formula's beginning to wear, maybe, well, like you said, with the whole um it focusing more on Nick than the two of them together. You can tell it's like,
Yeah,
okay, y'all are starting to lose the plot a little, but you're still holding on,
it
you
was
know.
still
Yeah.
good. Yeah, still good.
Um
So 9.
mm,
That's what you'd give it.
yes. And this is also the point where I'm like, I haven't prepared what movie to watch next. So
That's all right.
uh, it'll be a surprise, ladies and gentlemen. So next month we'll watch something, I think.
There you go. We'll
Yeah.
watch something.
Because normally I'm like, yeah, and we'll watch this, and half the time I come up with it at the last minute, but this time I'm drawing a blank mainly because I don't remember what I gave you that you haven't seen. We'll
All
have
right.
to go over that
Well,
later.
well, that keeps me in suspense too. Then
Mhm.
this is
All
how
right.
it is working with Mr. Ellis Womack.
And my poor, dilapidated, can't remember anything brain. Uh, but yes, so as always, I am your host, Ellis Womack. This is my co host, Zach Anderson, and I have nothing but movies and time. See y'all later.